Hey guys, so I've had the M1 MacBook Air for over a year now. And you know what? It still surprised me how good this thing is. Exactly. Like the newer models like the M2, M3 or even the recently released M4, most people are still wondering if the M1 Air MacBook is still a smart buy in 2025. Well, I'm here to unpack that today in the most real, no hype way possible. So stick around. Let's kick things off with the performance side of things, because I think most people still don't realize what the M1 MacBook Air is actually capable of doing, even in 2025. First off, that M1 chipset has an 8-core CPU with 4 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores. It's paired with a 7 cores or 8 cores GPU, depending on the model you get. And here's the crazy part. It's all built on a 5nm process and it uses something Apple calls unified memory architecture. That means the RAM and the graphics card memory are shared on the same chipset. So instead of a system and CPU fighting over separate pools of memory like the older system, they're pulling on a unified pool, which makes everything more efficient. About the RAM, for the best model, it comes with 8GB of RAM, which is what I have here. Even that's what most people are using, and that's totally fine. For web browsing, opening Office, Zoom calls, media playing, it handles everything like a breeze. Yes. But if you're someone like me that opens 15 plus Chrome tabs, maybe running Photoshop in the background or even using tools like Final Cut Pro, you might feel the difference with the 16GB of RAM version. But nevertheless, the 8GB of RAM that I have here with me still runs everything like a breeze. I edit 4K videos, I open multiple tabs, and it doesn't feel as if I'm doing anything on this system. This thing comes with a 256GB, 512, 1TB and 2TB variants of SSD hard drive, and I'm using the 256 variant here. Guys, the 256 version uses a single NAND chip, while higher tied models uses dual NANDs, which doubles the read and write speed. It's not a deal breaker, not for anyone, but if you're transferring or editing bigger files, the faster SSD makes a noticeable difference. That being said, even the 256 SSD that I have here is still a standard for most people. But for heavy users, the 512 version or the 1TB is the one you should go for a better headroom. In daily use, this thing flies. Boot time is like, about 10 minutes max or sometimes less, and things like Spotlight search, files review, opening or switching between apps feels smooth. I even edited full 4K YouTube videos on this laptop using Final Cut Pro. I color graded and even added some transition, and there was no hiccups. Even this video that I'm shooting right now will be edited or is being edited by this same laptop. Guys, exporting and rendering took less time than expected. Of course, there are limits. If you're working on massive 3D rendering projects, heavy After Effects competition or visual machine, the M1 chipset will hit the wall. And no extra GPU support either. What you get is what you're stuck with. So if your workflow grows significantly over time, you might eventually outgrow the M1 chipset. But here's the point, for 90% of users, this machine is more than enough. Fast RAM, efficient storage, snappy performance, and because it is passively cool, no fan, it stays silent. I don't think I've actually heard a pim from this thing. This is a beautiful example of hardware and software optimization. And 5 years later, it still embarrasses a lot of mid-range laptops released just last year. Alright, now let's talk about another absolute best part of the M1 MacBook Air, the battery life. I'm not just saying that because it sounds good. I've owned one of this machine for over a year now, and it still blows my mind how long this thing lasts. I do a mix of things: browse websites, script writing, editing thumbnails, watching YouTube videos, and occasional videos editing using Final Cut Pro. And this laptop still easily gives me 10 to 14 hours depending on what I'm doing. I've even gotten through a full work day, no charge, no panic. I can't tell how many times I've left my charger at home and I still have a whole day work without the system dying off. Try it with any Windows laptop and you see how far you get. Now for charging, it comes with a 25 watts USB Type-C adapter, which is alright. It's not fast charging, but it gets the job done. You're looking at around 2 hours to charge from 0 to 100. Plus, Mac OS has this thing it calls optimized battery charging. It basically learns your habits and pause the charge at 80% until you actually need to hit 100. If battery life is a big deal for you, let's be honest, it should be. The M1 MacBook Air is the best you can get in 2025. You don't need to stress about bringing your charger anyway, and that kind of peace of mind, man, you won't trade it for a slightly newer chipset, right? So here's the big question, why buy this in 2025? Well, the price. You can still find a brand new MacBook Air for $700 and the used one is even more cheaper. For students, casual users and remote workers, it's a big steal for you, especially compared to a mid-range Windows machine that still slows down in 2 years. It's like you're getting 80% of what the M3A offers for nearly half the price. That's wow. Let's be honest, this device is not perfect. M1 MacBook Air actually have downside. We have 2 Type-C USB ports here and a 3.5mm headphone jack. Nothing else. Also, 8GB of RAM is okay, but if you're multitasking heavily, it actually starts to feel tiring. I would say go for the 16GB model if you're a powerful user. Another plus, the keyboards here and the trackpads actually feels adorable. Like I've actually not seen anything like this on any Windows laptop. The texture, the clicks, the haptics is next to none. Here's my take. Apple future-proof the M1 MacBook Air so well that it can even last 5 years later. Take that from me. It's better than most laptops released today in the same price brackets or even specs. And if you're thinking about grabbing one in 2025, don't let the release date scare you. This device is still smart, budget-friendly, and it's a reliable machine. Like you can see mine, it's still very neat. If you can get a casing on it or something, see? It's still very neat and it's like 5 years or how many years old? Let me know your experience with the M1 MacBook Air in the comment section below. And if you're considering picking one, let me know your thoughts as well. Give the video a like if you enjoy it and do not forget to subscribe, please. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye and bye.